All right, we're live, and welcome to Austin D. Jordan Live. I'm your host, Austin D. Jordan, as I am not directing the camera very well there with Nova. Anyway, speaking of Nova, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce my lovely co-host, Miss Nova Kemp.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Austin. I'm very excited to be here once again, and I'm very excited to meet and speak with our guest tonight.
Yeah, JJ Birden is our special guest tonight, and he is a special guy, really special guy. He's an author of this awesome book that I'm plugging and that everybody needs to buy and read because it's almost as if I wrote it myself with a whole lot less success than him. But anyway, he's an author. He's a former NFL player, which we're going to get into this stuff. I just can't wait any longer. Mr. JJ Birden, how you doing tonight, JJ?
Hey, I'm doing great, Austin. How are you doing? How you doing, Nova?
Doing great.
I'm doing wonderful, JJ. And I just can't help my excitement talking about this book, man, because, I mean, it's just something that I would do. It's crazy. But I do have to say, after reading your book, there's one thing that we definitely all have to take away with it, and you have to realize yourself, not to be a Debbie Downer, because I'm not like that, but man, I just don't think you're going to get any endorsement deals with Greyhound anytime soon.
Yeah, I know. I wrote that part with caution.
Well, I also like the fact that it points out behind every great man is a great woman as well. So.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we all know that, but JJ really drove those points home a little bit, and to get the inside scoop, you guys got to go out there and get this book because it is awesome, and the Greyhound thing is just awesome. It really, he did it in a very delicate way, but I won't give any more of it away than that. But anyway, yeah, JJ, let's talk about the book, man. I mean, where to start? I mean, it's really just a good book. JJ's a businessman, a successful businessman, and there are lots of reasons why that is. Without trying to give away too much of the book, JJ, could you just kind of give us some insight in it, or obviously some of your inspiration and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always wanted to write a book. I just felt that even when I was a player in the NFL, I felt I was going to write a book. That's kind of my character. I like to share. I like to share experiences, and if I can teach someone from something that I've learned along the way, I wanted to do that. So I thought I would write kind of this, this is what the NFL is really like. I remember taking notes. I had a journal my last couple years, but as you know, been there, done it. Everybody's done that, the inside scoop. But since I've retired, though, you start reflecting on your career, and I kept thinking about how, I was 5'10", 157 pounds. I played 9 years in one of the most physically demanding sports out there, and I survived, and I said, there's got to be some teaching points in there somewhere. And that's kind of where the concept started to evolve, because I knew that, my whole life I was told I'm too small, I can't play ball, I'm too big, or I'm too big, or excuse me, I just don't have the right stature to play high school, college, and pro. But I felt every time someone told me that, I took advantage of that opportunity to prove them wrong. And that's kind of where the whole concept of seizing your opportunity came from. And that was the whole premise behind the book. I felt that I was qualified to share with people that, hey, we all have opportunities in life. No matter who you are, no matter what your social situation is, your background or whatever, the question is, do you seize them? And do you know how to really take advantage of them? And that's the message I want to convey to everyone. And I think we did a pretty good job. I'm really proud of the way the book came out because I wrote it. There was no ghostwriter. I had a really good editor that cleaned up my work. But when the final product came out, I said, okay, we're ready to share this with the masses.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. One of the things I say. We got an echo going on somewhere there, guys. But one of the things I always say is, one of the best revenges is success. I'm not a big revenge guy. I mean, you guys both know me. I'm real big about the DBWA, dream, believe, work, achieve. And it's so funny because JJ's got something very, very similar to that, and it's awesome, But yeah, I need to backtrack for a second here because I got all excited about the book and want to really dive into it. But I want to say that, you guys, we want to make this show all about the fans as well. So if you're on Twitter, we want you to go to Twitter and tweet us at LiveW80J. That's the @ LIVEW80J with any questions that you have for JJ, Nova, or myself about the book or careers or whatever you want to chat about. Nova's over there taking care of monitoring them for us so we don't ask anything too revealing or too inappropriate necessarily. But yeah, JJ, this book, I mean, I love that. I mean, what do you think about that concept of, you know, the best revenge is success? Because like me, I mean, we all have haters on some level. When you're in the public, it's you know, even whenever you're first starting out, like you said, you were small. You know, you said people said you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. But I will say one thing that people never said about you, JJ, is you weren't fast enough. Did anybody ever tell you weren't fast enough?
No, I don't think anybody ever said that. That's the one thing they would say. But you have great speed. You know, it was like, you're too small, but you have great speed. And you know, I was taught at a very young age that, you know, you can measure the outside of someone, how tall they are and how big they are, but you can't measure what's inside the heart. And I had a big heart. I was very hungry. And just when people kept telling me I couldn't do it, that was that extra fuel, that extra motivation I needed to prove them wrong. And it's funny, though, too. I never thought this would take me all the way to the NFL. It was just, let's play football. Let's play high school football and show them I can do that. Oh, I can't play college? Let's show them I can play college football. Then it was the NFL, and I was like, I don't know. And then I got there, and I was like, I can play the NFL too.
Well, it's funny you say you could play in the NFL instantly, basically, but I mean, reading the book, man, I got to tell you, I love the quote from Hanford Dixon. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that quote, maybe without, you know, obviously, I don't want to give away any content, but man, I love that quote from Hanford Dixon to you.
Yeah, well, we could share a few things, but I love that part because that was my second year in it with the Cleveland Browns. And the first year I was on IR. That was the year where I was rehabbing from ACL surgery, and I was, you know, learning the offense. I was trying to put on some weight, and when I launched into training camp, it was go time. And I was really about 75–80%, but you got to start playing. And immediately you're going against some of the best DBs in the NFL, and it's bump and run. You're playing bump and run and man-to-man, and I tell you, when I started going against Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon, I quickly learned this is the NFL, and you're playing with the big boys. Because I would line up, and Hanford would be in his stance, and I'd try to do my little shake. Hanford would grab me and just throw me out of bounds. And he'd look over me and say, little man, you got to do better than that. And I realized, Austin, that, hey, you know, if I'm going to last in this league, I better figure out how to beat bump and run technique.
Yeah, and I could not imagine, you know, being 157 pounds. I mean, I didn't weigh 157 pounds in high school, man, and I played football and baseball, and I was in the gym nonstop. But 157 pounds, I mean, I just can't even wrap my mind around it. But anyway, so those are some Cleveland days and a little tidbit there from JJ's book on that. But, I mean, I'm telling you guys, you have to read this book because it's not just an inspirational book. It's very entertaining. It's very educational, and things like the bump and run, which he just gave away. I mean, you really have to read this. I mean, if you're an aspiring NFL player, if you're a high school football player, I mean, if you just love sports, this book is for you. I mean, it's pretty much for everybody I can think of except for maybe someone that has no interest in football at all, which in my world, that's few and far between. What were you going to say there, Nova?
Well, if I could say, I think that it's kind of more for everybody. I think it's for anyone who wants to achieve a goal in life, and I think how you put it out there and the steps that you give to reach those is just, it's a great concept. It's a great layout that you did, and I think it's extremely informative and just inspiring for anybody who wants to achieve a goal, their life dream. I mean, it's a great read and very inspiring.
Thank you. And Nova, I appreciate that because that's what I was going for. I really wanted to create it generic enough so that if it was for the mom, the businessman, the high school athlete, I wanted to create it so that it could appeal to everyone. And you know, because I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want it just to be only sports-oriented people. I mean, as you know, I tell the story about my daughter. You know, taking advantage of those opportunities with your children. So, no, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That was the goal.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think you achieved it.
Yeah, and speaking of family, I mean, it's very interesting. This is something I knew about you, years ago, actually. But to see what you wrote about your family and how large your family is now, that's very admirable. I mean, like you looked at that situation as an opportunity, to do something great and to help your family. And you did a great job there. Again, it's something else people have to just buy this book to read about, because it really does make JJ and Raina, which Raina is his wife, really, really, truly exceptional people. And they really are, and I'm vouching for them as well as this book. So anyway, let's not get too mushy here. Let's talk a little, obviously people love the football thing. That's what I'm most publicly known for myself. But, let's kind of talk about you being starstruck by Joe Montana, man, whenever you got to play with him. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe not so much the book, or, what can you tell us about playing with Joe Montana?
Yeah, I was definitely starstruck. I was like, this is Joe Montana. I mean, wait a minute. I was in 8th grade watching this guy win Super Bowls, and now I'm in the huddle with him. And there really was this period where I had to get comfortable with that. And I think in the book I tell the story of that first time we were practicing and how I line up and I'm getting the first pass, X hook, and I go to the top of the route and he hits me in the back of the head the ball, and I'm like, Joe, what's up? And he quickly let me know, hey, I don't wait for you to get open. I've already read the defense. I know where the hole is. I expect you to get the top of the route, and get your head around. And right away, that comment just changed my game as a wide receiver, because I knew I was working with one of the best and that I needed to step my game up. And I credit a lot of that to Joe, just sharing that one little coaching point with me. And I learned so many other things which I highlight in the book, but it was such a privilege to play with one of the greatest to ever play the game.
Yeah, you definitely build him up and make people understand why he was Joe Montana, the football player. Like why he was so great, why he won 4 Super Bowls, why he, goes to the Chiefs with you guys. And I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't expect a lot from you guys that season whenever Joe went there. I mean, he had the elbow issue, if I remember correctly, which this is not in the book, but I've been watching football since '79, people. I'm old, get over it. But yeah, I mean, like, once Joe left there and Young, the way I looked at it is Steve Young basically beat him out. I mean, I know he had the elbow, but still there was a little more to it, I felt like. And so when Joe went to the Chiefs with JJ there, I really, so sorry, JJ, I didn't know you then, but I didn't expect a whole lot out of you guys. And I mean, it was the AFC Championship game you guys made it to, is that right?
Yeah, we went right to the AFC Championship game and lost to Buffalo. So when people say that Joe leaving San Francisco to go to Kansas City was one of the worst things that could have happened, and let me tell you something. This quarterback at 36 years old led us one game before the Super Bowl. And not to mention, the next year we still made it to the playoffs. So I think Joe had two productive years with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I mean, he had a lot going on. I mean, like you said, he was 36. A lot of people, I didn't envision him as washed up like a lot of people did at that point, but that was kind of popular opinion then, if you remember. But he did have the elbow too. So the elbow was my concern, not really. But the way that JJ talks about him and gives you some examples in the book and things, I mean, it really lets you understand why this guy was an undersized quarterback, why he was able to accomplish the things he accomplished. Because to me, it sounds like Joe Montana was one of the greatest leaders, around by looking at JJ's book. And also, not just the insight that JJ gives you in the book about Joe, it really helped JJ out, because, I mean, he absolutely made you a better player, right, JJ?
Yeah, he really did, because that's a little thing to maybe seems like a little thing to everyone, but for a wide receiver, that's a big deal, because when you get at the top of your route, I mean, you got to get your head around faster. And traditionally, we kind of take our time because most quarterbacks are waiting for you to be open. Well, not guys like Joe. And today you would be saying, like, let's say Aaron Rodgers or Brady or, the great quarterbacks today, they do this now as well. But they know where the holes are. So they're going to try to make that throw earlier so that only the wide receiver has the best chance to make the catch. And so that changed my game. But I have to tell you, one of the things that really flattered me was when Joe said, I remember he came out there and we were running streaks. Now, I had Willie Davis on the other side. Both Willie and I ran legitimate 4.3s. And he told us after the first practice, he goes, whoa, you guys are much faster than Rice getting up the field. He goes, I've got to throw the ball sooner and higher to adjust to your speed. So there was kind of a mutual admiration there and a mutual kind of feeling each other out. So that kind of made me feel good.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be compared to Jerry Rice on any level, whenever you're talking to a guy that helped make Jerry Rice, I mean, what can we say? I mean, let's just be honest. Joe Montana in everybody's book is one of the top 3 greatest quarterbacks of all time, and Jerry Rice is the GOAT at number 80. I mean, like, that's just the way it is. You know, no offense to JJ, but I'm sure JJ would agree. Do you think that Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time?
Oh, yeah. He's number one. He's definitely number one. When you look at his entire career and how productive he was and how long he did it, I definitely say he's the top.
Let's see, that's awesome. This is the kind of information and things you want. When you get a wide receiver that was very successful in his NFL career come on the show and say that Jerry Rice was the number 1 wide receiver, that just has to tell you how great of a guy that JJ is. Anyway, Nova, I've been ignoring the audience even though I said I wanted to make the show a little bit about them. Do we have any questions for JJ while we're talking here?
Well, not right now, but I do have we were talking about Joe Montana and you playing with him. What makes me think of a part of the book about in mentors and having those mentors and seeking them out, and I just found it a very good thing for you to mention, or a good point. I feel like a lot of people in our society they might start to feel a little inadequate and not they'll find a mentor but not feel like that they can admit that they're not as good, and you're going about it saying no, find that mentor and learn everything you can from them, and I think that's just a great point to put out there.
Yeah, that was I think a key ingredient of my success, because I realized early on that I might have talent and I might be successful in what I'm doing, but there's someone who can teach me something. There's someone who's better. There's someone who's already traveled the road I'm trying to get to. And in every phase of my career, Nova, I was always looking for that guy. I remember when I got to Cleveland, it was Webster Slaughter. I get to Kansas City, it was Stephon Page. And in the business world, it's been different people, because if I can find someone that can cut down my learning curve a little bit and then teach me some extra things along the way, that's going to help me get closer to my goal or to my dream. And I've always tried to tell young athletes that there's always someone you can learn from. Find out who that person is and latch onto them and take as much information from them as you can. And then I tell them, then always pay it forward. Always be willing to share with other people, because early in my career, I was the guy looking for the mentor, and I was learning from all of them. And then later in my career, I was the mentor. There was all these young guys coming up, and I wanted to pay it forward and share with them what the gentleman ahead of me shared with me.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice for anyone.
I think that's really awesome too, JJ, because it's like me, with like fantasy football. That's what I'm most publicly known for, which is kind of weird to me, considering how long I've worked in the entertainment industry and stuff, and who all I've worked with and things like that. But it's really funny because, like, I admit it, Jay Clements, which is one of the guys that is not considered one of the great fantasy football experts, but he did win, an award for SI for Fantasy Writer of the Year or something back in 2009. A really good guy and everything. And he said to me once, he said, I would rather give up on a player too early, talking fantasy football, which, we're not going to do that here on this segment just yet, but he said, I would rather get rid of a player a year early in like a keeper league than to hang on to him a year too late. And that really hit home to me, because it is, with the, I don't know what you would say, the credit that I get for being as good at something in particular as I supposedly am, for him to say that to me really made me respect him, and I've really, watched him and cared about what he has to say, all along the time, because he taught me something that it just didn't hit home. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're at the top of the game or not. I mean, you can always pick something else up. And, not to give away anything with your book there, JJ, but, like, with Montana, you said one thing that really stuck to you is, here's Joe Montana, a guy that's won 4 Super Bowls, and he's the biggest studying guy on the team. And I mean, that right there just, and I hate to give away a part of your book there myself, but
well, no, I think that's a good point. Let's share it, because that preparation is, when you talk about seizing your opportunity, being successful, part of the equation is your ability to prepare. And what you just shared there, what I saw Joe do when he got to KC, and he was always in the corner studying. He'd have all the plays on one sheet of paper, and he would fold them up, and he was going down memorizing the formations. And I was like, Joe, what are you doing? I was like, you're putting all this extra time into studying these plays. You ran this for 15, 16 years in San Francisco. Don't you already know the offense? And he goes, yeah. He goes, but I want to make sure that I don't even have to think when it's time to make these play calls. Because if the coach gives me the formation, I will already know the plays, and then that gives me about 5 extra seconds to take a look at the defense. So when you talk about your competitive advantage, Joe knew how to do it. It was all about his preparation.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. But anyway, I do see a question here on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that, Nova, but let me ask you this, JJ. This is from Will at Will Dominate. JJ, what are your most memorable moments, like top 1 to 3 moments you can remember playing in the NFL? That's a really good question there, Will.
Yeah, that's a good one, Will. Yeah, let me think. Top 1, actually, that's pretty easy because I know exactly what they are. The first one would be my first NFL touchdown. Okay, that's going to be Seattle Seahawks, October 1990 at the Kingdome. And the reason why was because my first year I'm on IR. I get cut by Cleveland. I go to Dallas. I'm on the practice squad all year. They're promising me I'm going to play. I never play. Then I get picked up by the Chiefs. I make the team. Then they cut me. Then they bring me back the next week. And then I play in Seattle, and I score my first NFL touchdown. So it was like I finally arrived. So that moment definitely is number 1. And then the second one would be the 1991 game when we played the Oakland Raiders. That was the second year. I just had this incredible first year with the Chiefs, and I thought, second year, here we go. It's just going to get better and better. But they had a guy they drafted. This guy had to play. So I was riding the bench most of the season. And, but I didn't get frustrated. I kept working really hard, and I said at some point they're going to have to play me. And it was the last game of the season. We're playing the Raiders, and whoever wins that game gets to host the opponent the next week for a home game playoff game. And Al Saunders, my receiver coach, said, okay, we're going to play you a lot this game. You deserve it. Take advantage of your opportunity. Well, I have 8 catches, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 51 and 52. And that was kind of that game where people saw me not just as another guy that, maybe this guy could start. And I became a starter after that. And then the last one would just be the entire 1993 season. You get to play with Joe and Marcus Allen and Derek Thomas and just being a part of that team. And the things that we did for Kansas City that year, I mean, we were 1 game away from the Super Bowl, but there were so many highlights from that year. So I'd say the 1993 season is definitely one of my top 3 moments in my career.
That is just absolutely awesome. And I will say something, because you mentioned that huge game you had there. And again, he had that kind of a game in the NFL, JJ did, and he'll still tell you that Jerry Rice was the greatest. And I can tell you what, that game destroyed a whole lot of Rice games. But anyway, I won't get into that too much. But yeah, JJ, I also about the touchdowns and stuff that you're scoring. Did you act? Did you pull an Ocho Cinco on us, or do you have a little bit of something you could share from that? Because I know Nova mentioned that to me off air and didn't say anything on air. But how do you? Oh, well, go ahead, Nova.
What I had said, a part in the book, you reference Tony Dungy's quote, something to the effect of, if you score a touchdown, act like you've done it before. And I can't stand watching football and you have someone like Ocho Cinco score a touchdown and do this huge dance. And the way I look at it is like, that's what you're getting paid for. It's what you're getting paid millions of dollars to do. So you should be happy. But I don't understand the whole show. It'd be like if I'm at work and I do something great, I don't jump up out of my desk and dance around. If that were the case, I'd be dancing all day. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was what he was talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. No, I'm the firm believer that you should celebrate, but it should be done with class. It should not be done with, hey, everybody, look at me, you know, where you stop the game and all that. And so I was always just into spiking the ball. I was just spiking the ball because as a kid,
I think that's natural.
You dream of spiking the ball, and so I came up with different ways to spike the ball, but that's all I needed to do. And I remember Tony Dungy saying that to me, and he said, you know, these guys, they get in the end zone and they put on this show. It's all about them. He says, just remember, you know, act like you've been there before. Be a professional because you're representing not just yourself, but you're also representing the organization.
And see, that's one thing that I loved way back in the day. And you actually talked about one of these guys. I won't get into any of that, but like that's what I loved about the Washington Redskins celebration. It was like the whole team. And I mean, for that to me is cool. I can live with that one. I'm very much that way too. I'm like Barry Sanders. I mean, I scored I think 1 touchdown. I played 1 year of high school football. 1 year. I was a baseball player and a track guy, so whatever. Football wasn't my thing. But I think I scored 1 touchdown. Literally, is the only touchdown of my entire life, and I literally just tossed the ball to the referee and jogged off the field. Pretty sad, I must admit. If I'd ever known that was the only touchdown I was ever going to score, I don't know. I may have turned into a kite and started flying in the sky or something. But anyway, JJ, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that said I'd keep you on here for about 20 minutes, and I think it's been about 30. So if you would, you know, tell us where we can find you, or well, first, do you have anything else you'd like to share, you know, about your book or anything, or just tell everybody where they can find you and all that fun stuff?
No, I just, you know, I like to connect with the fans. I just encourage everybody to connect with me. I'm on all the social media platforms, and if you just look up JJ Birden, that's usually my username. And as you know, Austin, I'm all about, you know, promoting the healthy lifestyle. I try to be very motivating. I want to help people mentally, physically, and financially, and that's what I'm able to do with my book, my keynote speaking, and I work with a company called Isogenics, and it's just been a good fit, you know. So, but I will let everybody know the ebook is coming out very, very soon. So I want to give everybody a heads up because when I launch it, we're going to do a 1-day launch at 99 cents. Because we're going to get on that bestsellers list. So I'll let you know because we'll be building up and promoting it. So everybody has a choice. You can download the ebook, but the advantage of getting the book is I will personally sign every single book like I have been doing as they order my book too. So so stay tuned. The ebook is coming.
That is absolutely awesome. And I know that Nova has access to my book, which I suggest everybody go and get. And he's not lying. Look, here you go. He's not.
And I'll definitely be purchasing the ebook.
Yep, that's what I started to say.
I appreciate you guys. You know that you read it and just the points you shared because that's what makes this all worthwhile. You know, when people read it and something touched them and I'll end with this story. My mom read the book. She knew I was writing a book, but she didn't know what it was about. And she read the book and she came in and she said. She was blown away at the stories because I tell some stories about my mom. She's like, I didn't think you remember that stuff. But she said, wow, even at the age of 70, you taught me a couple things because there's a couple of goals I've been scared of, but you showed me that it's okay to be afraid, but don't let the fear paralyze you from achieving your goals. And so that's what kind of makes this worthwhile. My mom and hearing from you guys that, you know, it was worthwhile doing this project.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. I mean, like, honestly, like, the whole, you know, the whole dream, believe, work, achieve philosophy that I've had pretty much my whole life, and, you know, you literally just took that to school in this book, you know. So we do greatly appreciate you, and everybody definitely follow JJ on Twitter. It's at JJ Birden, and like you said, you can find him pretty much everywhere. Anyway, JJ, we greatly appreciate you, my friend. We're pumping this book. I'm going to keep this. I think I have a picture, something similar like this, as on my sports account, my sports Twitter account. I'm going to keep that just like that, just in support of you doing a positive thing and trying to make a positive impact on what sometimes can be a very negative world. So. We greatly appreciate you, my friend, and thank you very much for your time tonight, and I will be talking to you and see you soon.
All
Have a
right.
good.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Have a good
Nova,
night.
and thank
It
you,
was very
Russell.
nice meeting
Appreciate
you.
guys. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Have a good night. All right, so that was this JJ Birden there, and I mean, this guy is just awesome. I mean, he's a guy after my own heart, isn't he, Nova?
Oh yes, I love him. He's great. So positive and just a good person.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of even Nova. Everybody that knows me gets a little annoyed with me. But my sense of positivity and like kindness, I guess. I really do believe in treating others the way you want your loved ones to be treated. And if you're always positive, then positive things happen to you. I mean, it's just the way it is. And I mean, JJ really does define that in this book. And I'll tell you what, he really does give you some very good steps that is dead on. And I mean, this is coming from a guy myself that's a very positive guy, a very positive thinker. And I tell you, the more positive I am and the more kind I am to others, the more I get back that's positive. Sure, you sprinkle in a few haters, but I love the haters too because they encourage me to move forward and everything. So anyway, we're getting the show a little bit long here. So obviously I could talk to JJ all night. But anyway, no, but let's just first in the fantasy football segment here, just go out and start asking some questions. Do we have any well, I'm assuming that do I have any questions for fantasy football or no?
Yes, we have. No, we have a few here. The first question, Jason G at Big Bad J15 asks, Austin, who are your top 3 rookie picks for this year?
Jason. All right, yeah, Jason again. I love that guy. Let's see, Jason. My top 3 picks. It's kind of a difficult question because you know me, Jason, and a lot of people do. And in terms of drafting, I would say the number 1 scoring rookie this year will be Marcus Mariota. Now, I don't know if he's really a fantasy play, but he will. I think he'll be the best rookie quarterback, and quarterbacks generally score the most points, and he's starting from day 1. And I think he's going to be fairly successful. I think he's going to really shock some people. So I say Marcus Mariota scores the most fantasy points as a rookie. Next, you probably got to say, I'm not going to do these next in order. I'll give you 3 more, actually. So Mariota is kind of a, out there. But I'm going to say probably Gurley, Melvin Gordon. Gordon more so because of volume. I don't really trust that offensive line. Or necessarily his running back situation, to be honest with you. I kind of liked Brandon Oliver a little bit last year. And Amari Cooper. If Cooper has 800 yards receiving and 5-6 touchdowns, that's going to put him in the conversation. So, those 4 guys. But I say Mariota definitely scores the most, and then Gurley, Gordon, and Cooper, which I think that's probably how they're really going in the draft anyway, in drafts. So, sorry, I couldn't really help you out there a whole lot there, Jay. Anyway, what else you got there, Nova? You said a couple questions.
Dan C at D_finish asks, he states, you've been right about my Dolphins record the past 2 years. How do you think they'll do this season?
I'm trying to.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that guy asks me every year what I think that the Dolphins are going to do. And I've gotten lucky with some guesses, I guess. But the Dolphins, I love their defense this year. I was looking at their schedule. They brought in Ndamukong Suh, which I kind of broke that news 4 hours before Chris Mortensen, but nobody cared. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably make the playoffs. I think they'll make the playoffs this year. I really do. This is the first time I think they'll make the playoffs. They'll win at least 10 games. I think they'll win 10 or 11 games to make the playoffs. So thanks for the question there, Dan, and hopefully I'm right for a 3rd year in a row. We'll see.
Okay, Brian Football at Brian_football asks, Austin, who are your biggest sleepers at each position? Well, that's a full question, fully loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. This might be the last question we take here. Biggest sleepers. Okay, so you guys know that I don't believe into the sleeper theory because you guys are smart. I mean, I got beat last year in some leagues like JJ and I were both talking about earlier on the show. It's, sometimes you get unlucky. I mean, granted, I drafted Adrian Peterson number 1 every time I had the number 1 pick, so that kind of hurt. But so I don't really believe in sleepers because you guys are just as smart as I am when it comes to fantasy football. You just don't necessarily see some of the things that I see or have the information that I have. But I would say let's just start at the top. Stop talking in circles. Number one quarterback I would say would probably be Carson Palmer because he generally goes undrafted. And you're talking about a guy that'll throw for like 4,000 yards. So for an undervalued, I'm going to say undervalued guys for these underdrafted guys. But yeah, Carson Palmer, he'll throw for 4,000 yards this year, 20 touchdowns. They'll be a lot better team altogether. Running back, that's a tough one because there's so many guys. The latest running back I would consider taking would probably be Monty Ball. I think I got him in the 14th round last night. And the reason why I say Monty Ball, I loved Monty Ball coming into his rookie season. I loved C.J. Anderson as well. If you go back and look at tweets and stuff, you'll see how much I love those guys. I literally predicted C.J. Anderson. Actually, I even remember on August 13th of his rookie season, I said C.J. Anderson would be a number one running back in the NFL. And everybody on earth told me I was like the stupidest person that ever lived. So that worked out. But I will say Monty Ball, and the reason why I say Monty Ball, even though I love C.J. Anderson, is C.J. Anderson is injury prone, and that's a problem. The next guy, wide receiver, I will go with Eddie Royal. You'll like that, Nova. Eddie Royal from Virginia Tech and the Bears. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yes.
You remember the season he had a few years ago when he played with Jay Cutler? Do you remember a big year?
Well, it's been a few years, right?
Yeah, okay, so it's been a few years, but whatever. He had like 90 receptions, and I mean, did really, really well with them. Brandon Marshall's gone. Kevin White, which I do like a lot, he's on the mend, and I mean, you start having problems as wide receiver, that's a problem. So I could see Eddie Royal getting up to 90 catches. I don't think you'll get 90 catches necessarily, but going that late, I mean, he's way late. Tight end. Oh, goodness, that's a tough one. Vernon Davis. And the reason why I say Vernon Davis is because he goes very, very late. I think he goes 14th, 15th round. So all these guys are like 14th round or on. So who I'm telling you here in like a 10-team league. Defense, the Dolphins again. I love the Miami Dolphins defense. They go very late. I think Sue's going to have an impact there in the middle. I think they're going to be more efficient on offense maybe. I just said they're going to win 10 or 11 games. So if I'm wrong, I'm just wrong. And kicker, Chandler Catanzaro. Loved him last year as a rookie. He and Cody Parkey were two kickers that I drafted in a ton of leagues, and everybody thought I was nuts. But I like both of those guys. Not Parkey again this year, but I like Katz this year. You have to remember, last year he played without his quarterback, without his starting running back, and he still put up a stellar season as a rookie kicker. Yeah, all right. So that was a lot. Do we have any more questions there, Nova?
Well, it looks like we have Doug in Roanoke, Virginia at Roanoke VA tweets. Nova, I know you're a Chicago Bears fan, but who's your favorite NFL player? Well, and I'm assuming you're asking outside of the Bears. So, I've always liked Larry Fitzgerald. I feel like he's such a good guy. He's so he just seems so humble when he makes an excellent play, which he always does. Like we talked about earlier in the show, he just, tosses the ball and he does his job. He comes out there. He doesn't make a huge scene. He's not dancing on the sidelines. And I don't know. I feel like he's a really good person, and I just like playing or watching him play. He seems like a very admirable person. And another player I like that's probably going to make people go, what, is Tony Romo. I feel like he's just such a nice guy. I think he gets such a bad rep. I think he is just really good, and I think that he's just like people like to place all of the blame on him, I feel like, and I feel like he handles that well. He just kind of brushes it off, and I don't know, I find that admirable about people, and I think that he just seems like a nice guy. So those are my two answers.
I'm kind of floored by that because I've always thought your favorite player was Jay Cutler because, I mean, you just seem to love that guy, which is weird.
Well, I said outside of the Bears. I was assuming that they were asking, other than Chicago Bears players. So.
But, I mean, it's Jay Cutler. But that's
I know. I do like him a lot.
Anyway, you also used to love Brian Urlacher. I know that too. But
yes, of course.
One more time. Jay Cutler. Okay. Anyway, so last week I gave everybody a FanDuel pick, or I should say daily fantasy sports pick. That may be coming to an end sometime soon, so I may have some news about that, but I don't want to get into that right now because we're working out some things and we'll figure some things out. But for tonight's show, I want to go ahead and tell you the quarterback that I love week 1, which everybody's going to go, no crap, thanks a lot for the information. But week 1, Aaron Rodgers. I know, such an easy pick. I'm such an goat. But I'll be honest, I'm worn out. This has been a long show. And we did have tons of technical difficulties again, just like we did last week with Danielle. But we were able to figure it out with JJ, and he was able to get on the show tonight, which, you know, Danielle was on the show as well last week, but she was only on via phone, which, you know, I'm sure there were tons of guys that wanted to see her, which I don't blame you. But anyway, so I gave you a daily fantasy sports pick at wide receiver last week. I gave you a quarterback this week. Do we have any more questions, Nova, before I?
Don't see any.
Fantastic. Good. I'm done. All right. Well, Nova, if you would tell everybody where they can find you, see you, blah, 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 whatever.
You can find me at Nova Kemp on Twitter, and you can find me every Saturday night co-hosting the show.
I love the second answer. That is a great answer. I should have thought of that. Anyway, again, we want to thank JJ Birden for coming on the show tonight.
Absolutely.
Get the book, seriously. And whenever the e-drop thing does drop, let's do it. Let's try to make it a #1 seller. We'll use NFLBR and DBWA marketing and myself and Nova, and we'll try to make it happen for JJ, because he just deserves whatever he can get positive, because he's such a great guy. So we definitely appreciate him coming on the show. Anyway, I'm at Austin D. Jordan on Twitter. You can Google me, you know, whatever. I prefer, honestly, if you're going to do anything, go to austindjordan.com/live and connect with all these great guests that I'm bringing on the show. You know, all these people are good people. In my opinion, which is the one that matters to me most. So yeah, check them all out and everything. Again, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate your questions. Have a great night, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks.